What's up guys, it's Talon. Today we're here with the second part of the item guide, this time with the magic items. So I already gave the intro in the first part, so we're just going to get right into it. Starting off with Luden's Echo, you have 85 ability power, 7% magic penetration, which in most AP items give this 7% magic penetration, 300 max mana, and 20 ability haste. And then you have this additional thing where moving and casting abilities builds Discord, and then at 100 Discord or 100 stacks, your next ability will or empowered attack will deal 110 bonus magic damage and 10% AP to your target and up to 3 nearby enemies. So this is going to be really good on poke mages typically, Ziggs, Syndra. These types of champs as a first item because of that additional mana and poke are really going to like it. Again, first item typically on poke mages is when you will build this item. Then we have Morellonomicon, and this is the anti-heal item for AP champions. So it's going to give kind of poor stats with 150 max health, 75 ability power, 7% magic pen, and 20 ability haste. But again, this main value is dealing magic damage to enemy champions, inflicts 50% grievous wounds, which again is the anti-heal item. And you only need to build this first anti-heal component early on in the game if you're into, like, say, Soraka, Aatrox, a lot of healing. Build this Oblivion Orb 900 gold component early to get that grievous wounds. And then finish Morellonomicon 4th, 3rd item, later on in the game because the stats aren't as good, so you're going to want to wait a little longer on finishing it. But obviously, you're going to have to eventually finish it. Then we have Rabadon's Death Cap. This is going to be 100 AP, 7% Magic Pen, and then Overkill passive, which increases ability power by 20 to 45%. So this is a good 3rd or 4th item on nearly every AP champion, but generally just most champs that are focused mostly on damage. It's going to give you an insane amount of damage, and obviously the later in the game, the more damage it's going to deal because you're going to have more AP from your build, which is why typically you want a 3rd, 4th item slot, and it's going to be a major power spike for most AP champions. Then we have Rylai's Crystal Scepter, which is 350 max health, 70 AP, and the Icy passive, as you'll remember from Serylda's, where damaging active abilities and empowered attacks will slow enemies by 30% for a second. Not many champions utilize this, but Aesol and Singed are 2 of the main users, Morgana as well. Champions who really like having that more supportive playstyle, using their abilities to kind of slow people and just catch them out really easily, are going to utilize this item. Then we have Liandry's Torment, which is 250 max health, 75 AP, and 7% magic pen. Then the passive damaging abilities or empowered attacks will deal 0.4% plus 0.005% AP of enemies' max health as bonus damage each second over 3 seconds. So it's going to be a burn. So this is going to be best into tanks. The reason it's good into tanks is because you have that damage based on the enemy's max health as bonus damage. So again, usually a 3rd, 4th, 5th item when you're into a really tanky comp on most AP champions. And to acknowledge why I'm not necessarily talking about specific champs as much in the AP portion, it's because there's less build diversity on AP champs. So most of the time, the situations that these items are good in are good on most AP champs. It's pretty rare that there's champs that have very different builds in the AP slot. There are sometimes, but typically they don't. Then we have Rod of Ages, which gives you 250 max health, 60 AP, 7% magic pen, and 300 max mana. And then it gives you the unique passive where you restore mana equal to 15% of the damage taken. So it's going to be good for the mana. You regen health equal to 20% of mana spent, capped at 25 health per stack. But then the real unique passive is going to be this. And you're going to stack 25 health, 10 mana, and 6 ability power each stack. And this stacks every 40 seconds. You get 1 stack up to 10 stacks, which gives you a total of 250 additional health, 100 mana, and 60 ability power. So this item, if you're going to build it, you pretty much have to build it first, because it stacks, so it's not going to stack quick enough if you build it 2nd or 3rd or later. It's going to be really good on champions who want that additional health and want to just scale up into the late game. Passive really likes it. Diana can sometimes go at these types of champions, are typically going to prefer it, but again, you have to really build it first item and stack it up as quick as possible. Then we have Lichbane, which is going to give you 80 AP, 7% magic pen, and 10 ability haste. It's going to give you 5% bonus movement speed, and then it's going to give you a Spellblade passive, which is the same as how Trinity Force or Sunderer work. This is going to give you Spellblade, where using an ability causes the next attack within 10 seconds to deal more bonus magic damage, equal to 75% base AD and 50% AP. So again, this is going to make it basically an auto attack after you use an ability, deal more damage. So it's going to be good on champs like Fizz, who really like to auto after getting their combos off, and other burst damage champs like this, Diana as well, those types of assassins. Then we have Archangel's Staff, which is essentially the Manamune of AP items. It's going to give you 35 AP, 7% magic pen, 500 max mana, and 20 ability paste. Again, it's going to give you this thing where ability power equal to 1% of your mana will refund 25% of all mana spent. And then it also, again, gives you AP based on your mana. Then this mana charge will increase your max mana by 15 every time that you spend mana. So basically, if you use an ability, you get 15 extra mana, and it goes up to 700 mana. Now, once you get 700 mana, it turns into Seraph's Embrace, which is where this item is really useful. Gives you now 1200 max mana alongside those other stats, and now you get ability power equal to 3% of your overall max mana, and it refunds again the 25% of all mana spent, and that gives you the Lifeline passive, which is immensely useful on these AP poke mages like Ziggs, like Orianna, these types of champions, where it will then cause damage that puts you under 35% health to consume 15% of your mana to grant a shield equal to that amount, plus 100 for 2 seconds. So it's going to be good as kind of a protective item into these assassins, and it's typically going to be used on scaling mages. Kassadin does like it, Ziggs kind of likes it, Orianna really likes it. These types of champions, you kind of have to build it first item, or at least build the tier component first item in order to stack it up, because if you use this tier component to stack it up, then you're going to get that quite nicely, stack it up quickly, and then around 2-3 items you're going to be really powerful with this stacking. Okay guys, and I explained Nashor's Tooth in my physical items video, so I'm not going to go into it here, even though it falls under this category as well. Then we have Ardent Censer. It's going to be 250 max health, 60 AP, 10% ability haste, or 10 ability haste, 5% additional movement speed on the passive, and then when you heal or shield an allied champion, both you and your allied champion that you shield or heal gain 10 to 30% attack speed based on the time of the game and your level, and your attacks will deal 16 to 30 bonus magic damage for 6 seconds. So this is going to be good on support champs who heal, like Soraka, or shield as well, Janna, Yuumi, these types of champions, when you have a lot of auto attackers on your team. So say you have a Tristana or a Vayne or someone like that, and then say you have a Zed and a lot of auto attackers on your team, you're going to want to build this item. Harmonic Echo is another support item. It gives you 75 AP, 300 max mana, and 10 ability haste. When you move and cast abilities, you build Harmony, which is again another stacking thing. At 100 Harmony, your next healing or shielding ability will then give additional healing. So basically, it's going to be just really good for that overkill amount of healing when you don't necessarily need the Ardent Censer or other things. So Nami, Soraka, these types of supports are really going to like using this one, again, when they don't necessarily need the Ardent Censer passive or those other support item passives as much. Then we have Soul Stealer, which gives you 150 max health, 65 AP, 7% magic pen, and 20 ability haste. It also gives you 15 flat magic pen, and then it has this passive where if you get a takedown on an enemy champion, within 3 seconds of dealing damage to them, you reduce the remaining cooldowns of your abilities by 25%. And so this is going to be really good on champs like Fizz or other assassins who really rely on cooldowns. Sometimes Kassadin in late game can use it, these types of champions who not only utilize the magic pen really effectively, but also utilize the overall passive with the takedowns so that they can get resets and get a lot of kills. Vex is another champion who likes it, those types of champions like this. Then there's Infinity Orb, which is an extremely powerful item. It gives you 85 AP, 7% magic pen, 5% movement speed, and again 15 magic pen. And then your abilities and your empowered attacks will crit for 20% bonus damage against enemies below 35% health. So this is an amazing, usually second item on a lot of champions who want to one-shot and burst down their opponents. Again, a lot of assassins, pretty much every assassin is going to use this item. Every AP assassin, Fizz, Diana, any type of AP assassin, really a lot of mages as well, Ziggs, Syndra. Pretty much every champ is going to use this oftentimes in their second item slot. It's going to be rare that you're not going to want this. Certain AP champs won't, but most do. Alright, Staff of Flowing Waters is another support item that gives you 65 AP, 350 max mana, and 20 ability haste. And then when you heal or shield an ally, you grant ability haste as well as additional ability power. So this is going to be really good with a lot of AP champions on your team as a support. So if you're playing, again, Nami, Soraka, Yuumi, any of these healing supports or shielding supports, you're going to want to use it when you have a lot of AP on your team. Then we have Crystalline Reflector, which gives you 200 max health, 40 armor, 70 AP, 7% magic pen, and each time you cast an ability, it grants a mirror shard that lasts for 3 seconds, which will block some incoming physical damage and deal some magic damage as well. So basically, this is the kind of anti-AD AP item. So when you're playing an AP champion and you feel like you're getting one shot by a Zed, by an AD champion, or the enemy is full AD, you can go third, fourth, fifth item, you go this item, and it's going to help with your survivability against AD champions. Then we have the best defensive AP item as a whole, Crown of the Shattered Queen. It gives you 60 AP, 7% magic pen, 200 max mana, and 20 ability haste. It also grants you a spell shield similar to Edge of Night, where then it'll block the next hostile ability. After the shield breaks, you also get damage reduction for an entire second, 50% damage reduction for an entire second. And then you also get ability power increased by 20 while you are safeguarded, so while you have this spell shield up. And then dealing magic damage to an enemy champion using an active ability will reduce the cooldown by 4 seconds of your spell shield. So again, this is a really good third, fourth, fifth item when you are strong already on these AP champs, you need a bit of defensive stuff. Maybe they have an Ashe, they have a TF, someone who's kind of, you know, gonna one-shot you or gonna CC you, burst you down. This is gonna be really helpful for blocking those abilities. Then there's Imperial Mandate. It gives you 200 max health, 40 AP, and 20 ability haste. Additionally, abilities that slow or immobilize a champion will deal some damage and mark them for 4 seconds, causing them to take more damage from your opponents, or from your teammates rather. And so this is going to be really good on supports when you're trying to really burst down at your opponents with your teammates. So for example, Nami lands a bubble on someone. Well, now because she CC'd someone, this is going to allow your teammates to burst someone down really quick. So for example, with the Lucian, Nami going Mandate is really going to help as that support champion to help burst down the enemy with your AD carry. Additionally, some champs like Rakan or supports that have AP sometimes can like using this item as well, because when they CC someone, they take extra damage. But in general, supports who like CCing people, who usually AP supports who like CCing people, are going to use this item quite effectively. Then we have my favorite item in the game, and honestly I wish this item was stronger, but Cosmic Drive, 75 AP, 7% Magic Pen, and 30 ability haste. It also gives you 5% movement speed, and then gives you this really fun passive where active abilities and empowered attacks grant 30 plus 70% ability haste as movement speed. And then after you deal damage to an enemy champion, this movement speed decays over 2 seconds. So basically, when you deal damage to people with abilities, you gain movement speed. So it's just really fun running around. Champions like Vladimir absolutely love this item. I actually like this item on Orianna sometimes too, as well as a 4th or 5th item when I don't have a ton of other things to build. In general, it's not a strong item, but champs like Vlad or other champs, sometimes Gragas as well, can utilize this item. Now we have one of the best AP items in the game, and that's Rift Maker. It gives 150 max health, 80 AP, 7% Magic Pen, and 15 ability haste. It gives you also 13% Omnivamp, and then has an additional passive where if you're in combat, you get a stack of corruption every second. Each stack will increase the damage you deal by 2.5%, up to 3 stacks at max stacks. The additional damage then that you get is true damage. So basically, because of the fact that this gives you true damage and a lot of stacking damage, it's going to be really good into tanks. So anytime that you're into a very tanky comp, it gives you that Omnivamp to help survive longer, and it gives you that obviously true damage to really burst down those tanks. Then we have Ocean Knight's Trident, which is the anti-shield item of AP. So it's going to give 200 max health, 80 ability power, 7% Magic Pen, and 10 ability haste. So again, dealing damage to an enemy champion will reduce the shields that they gain, and that's really what we need to know about this item. When the enemy have too many shields, you need to go this item either 2nd or 3rd or 4th item in order to stop so much shielding from occurring. Alright, now we have Horizon Focus, which gives you 80 AP, 7% Magic Pen, and 20 ability haste. So when you damage an enemy with an ability from 600 units away, which is basically just a decently long distance, you'll reveal them for 6 seconds and increase the damage dealt to them by 9%. Also, when Hypershot is triggered, you'll reveal all enemy champions within 1200 units of the target for 2 seconds. So basically, this is going to be good on long-range champions who like dealing a lot of quick damage in succession. For example, Ziggs or other control mages like Syndra can utilize this item pretty well. Then we have Psychic Projector, again one of my favorite items. Gives you 300 max health, 60 AP, 7% Magic Pen, 15 ability haste, and then it converts ability power equal to 3% of your bonus health. So if you have, 1500 bonus health from your items, 3% of that is going to go into AP. Additionally, when you take damage, you gain a non-stacking shield that absorbs damage equal to 30 plus 10% AP and 5% bonus HP. So basically, this is really good on bruiser AP champions like Gragas, Nautilus when you're going Nautilus jungle with AP, who stack health, but also like building AP because it really gives you, all of those stats that you want as an AP bruiser champion. And so that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Part 3 coming tomorrow.